finales del ajedrez internacional. A lo largo de su carrera consiguió victorias memorables frente a campeones del mundo como Anatoly Karpov y Garry Kasparov, demostrando que su ajedrez creativo y poco convencional podía imponerse incluso a los jugadores más dominantes de su época. Fue también un brillante competidor en torneos internacionales, con destacadas actuaciones en certámenes clásicos como Hastings y numerosos torneos europeos de alto nivel. Más allá de los resultados, Romanishin es admirado por su estilo único, arriesgado, dinámico y profundamente humano. Sus partidas siguen siendo estudiadas hoy por su riqueza estratégica y su audacia táctica. Tras décadas de competencia al más alto nivel, ha dedicado gran parte de su vida a la enseñanza y difusión del ajedrez. Hoy tenemos el privilegio de escuchar a un verdadero artista del tablero, un maestro cuya trayectoria demuestra que la creatividad y el coraje siguen siendo esenciales en el ajedrez. Con ustedes, el gran maestro Oleg Romanishin. I will introduce you in English as well.
So, but I didn't understand a lot.
You understand?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, thank you. Enjoy the conference and thank you for coming.
So, okay, I would like to show the game that I played versus former world champion Tigran Petrosyan, but the well-known is our.
Would you prefer to use the microphone?
I don't prefer if it's okay, because I'm not so familiar with microphone. So.
It's okay.
So the well-known is my first encounter versus Petrosyan 1975 with a novelty bishop d3 when the pawn was on d2, and that time it was a big surprise. Now there are many openings where the people do it in Sicilian and other openings that time. But and later I sacrificed a knight on d5 and had a good advantage, had a good attack, and maybe equalize one moment, make a draw. But the game is a game, and I won. And this game is well known because Petrosyan won that time the Soviet Championship. It was 75. There was only one game to win. So in Erevan. And then two games. Next two games I lost, both also with white. 1976 it was King's Indian in Soviet Championship, and 1977 I played something very strange with knight f3, c4 and b4, but I usually don't play such moves, and I lost the game. 78 we played in the Team Cup clubs, Club Cup, Soviet Union. It was I had already black this time, and the game ended a draw. And 1979 we played again Soviet Team Championship, the game that I like more than the famous game, the first one. And that was the Soviet Team Championship. I played the first board for Ukraine, and Petrosyan played the first board for Moscow. I have to tell you that Russia played three teams. One team was Moscow with first board Petrosyan. Second board was I think second board was Smyslov. I'm not sure. Another team was Leningrad. First board was world champion Karpov. He lived that time in Leningrad. And another one was Russia Federation. On the first board was Spassky, second was Polonez. So, and now we played the versus Moscow, first board, and you know there were not so many information that time, no databases, no computers. I expected that Petrosyan mostly played, if I start with e4 this time, I wanted to start with e4, he mostly played French or Caro-Kann. Sometimes he played Sicilian, very few games Spanish, mostly Lopez, mostly Caro-Kann. And I decided to play e4. he played c6, d4, d5, knight c3, de4, knight d4, and knight d7. That was played by many strong players like Karpov, for instance, knight d7, and that was I expected. There were not computers, not databases. I just considered before the game what I will do in this moment. I must admit, I was young. I was now at that time it was young. Now the people are retired with 27. They stop to play. And at that time, you know, there were not grandmasters with 14 or something. When I became the grandmaster with 24, there were about 10 players only. At this age, with age 20, 24, at that time grandmasters like few years elder than me, like 2 years elder Luboyevich, 1 year elder was Anderson, Timman, Sachs, Ribli, Dorian, then the same age was Making, Belaski was 1 year younger, so more or less the same age. Torel, so about 10 and 12 players only that age, no younger. So, and now I was young and must admit a little bit arrogant. It's like for everybody who is young and who has success. So, who is successful, arrogant. And I thought, okay, he wants to play knight gf6, and I want to do the same, like him. And let us see what he does. So it was just consideration before the game, not special preparation. I played knight ge2, knight gf6, and knight to g3. I did the same. So, and I didn't know that it was played before. I didn't know because there were no database, nothing more. We played some games. So, and maybe he was a little bit surprised, I don't know. Because you know that normally, instead of after knight d7, mostly the people play bishop c4 now, this, and then they play something like that. It's a main line, actually. So, and knight e2 I played, so here are the moves, knight g3. And now it's a question what he has to do. To change both knights and then to have double pawns, maybe he didn't. To play e6, that is against the idea that he doesn't want to close his bishop from c8. And he played g6, looks normal. g6, now I play bishop c4, because now he's not e6 anymore, not possible anymore. So, bishop g7, c3, because the pawn is hanging already, and castle, and castle. Now he has to play. He played knight d5, because if he would play knight b6, for instance, I would play bishops. No, I would take first. Sorry, I would take first to force him to take by bishop, and now move a bishop back, because bishop on f6 is misplayed. So, and if now e5, he has to play e5 or c5. Otherwise, he gets, and he is not a pin anymore here. So the bishop cannot develop a piece. So then it's bishop h6, rook e8, and now d5, bishop e5, and rook e1. And now he has a little bit problem with developing pieces, what he will do now. If he is playing, if he changes, I take, I have both rooks, bishop d7, I can disturb him a little bit by a4. Now he has to play. Now he has to play bishop e6 already. Takes. Take f4, bishop g7, and he has a little bit weaknesses here. Bishop takes g7, king takes g7. And now probably knight e4 is better. Knight e4 is better than a5. And white has a better hand. How much is another question, but better. When to play with black is a little bit unpleasant. So that is why he played in this moment after castling. Where is the castling? Knight b6, bishop d3. No, sorry. He played immediately, not knight b6, and he played immediately knight d5. He wanted to put another knight to b6, to f6. Or maybe he wants to keep control over c5 square. Rook e1. Logical. And he played here e5. Because without e5 and c5 we will be in troubles. He played e5 and bishop g5. And this moment he could equalize the king. If he would play here queen b6. Queen b6 was the best move. d e5, knight e5, bishop d5, pawn d5, queen d5, bishop e3, queen d5. So if bishop e3, queen b2, rook b1 could be another game, but not clear, this situation. But queen b5 looks a normal move. Queen takes d5. And now bishop e6. Bishop e6. This is very annoying bishop here. There is no control. Queen c5. And now knight d3. Has to take. Takes. Rook e2. And he takes on a2. And should be about equal. Seems to be, that was what he missed in this moment. He played f6. Instead of queen b6, where is it? This moment, he played f6. And now, just bishop d2. cd4, ed4. I suppose the Tarash said, who doesn't like to play, who is scared to play with isolated pawn should not play chess. I'm not sure if Tarash, but somebody said it. So, now yes, I have isolated pawn. If his pawn would be on f7, then black position would be very good. But the problem is of this pawn. It's closing the bishop. If you place f5, closing another bishop. So yes, that is the problem of this pawn. That's because of that he cannot attack my isolated pawn and cannot develop more good pieces. If, for instance, here f5, I simply can take and knight g5. It's very unpleasant. Sorry. Except of when he doesn't take on d4. Sorry. When he in this position, if he plays after bishop d2, if he plays immediately, then I can take, he takes, and now it's knight g5, and after rook e8, just d5. Now he has isolated. Yes, but comparing to the position, this bishop is bad, poor bishop, and also king is not safe in this situation. So that is why he first changed from d4, e4, c4, and now he played knight b6, bishop b3, and he just put king h8. So, white has a very nice c5 for a knight. Bishop on g7 seems to be poor, without closed. But I played a lot of games with Sicilian closed, and I know that the king without bishop on g7 would be always weak. He needed the bishop. First of all, bishop to defend the king, and maybe later to attack d4. So, and I just decided, because he still has a bishop on c8, he cannot develop because of knight c5 always, then I played in c8, just to change the bishop. Seems to be unlogical, but a5. It's typical, and no, a3. First of all, covering b4 square, and if it pawn on if a5 or if a4 would be always weak later. And now he decided to change, to replace knights. Another change. He played knight c7, first to cover e6, and another to bring another one knight to b5. Because knight on b6 is not good. And he wants, or maybe he wants to play one more on b6. Cover the square c6. Bishop. No, first knight c5. Because he wanted to play immediately bishop e6. Changing the bishop. Knight c5. He has to play knight bd5. He still has no bishop, is it? And now I changed that one bishop. Now what to do with my knight on c5? He played b6. To change, to take on h6 would be very unpleasant with queen on h6. He played b6, g6. Now I changed, he changed, and now I moved the knight to knight d3. Because one moment I want to have knight f4. Okay, he has another weakness, c6 now. Has to cover c6. Bishop d7 and knight f4. Even I want to change both pieces on d5, and then he has problems with the squares. Queen is coming over f4 to d6 maybe. Rook f7. It's like typical Petrosyan, is covering the squares. e7. And the typical in such positions is the king is weak, and we start with h4. h5 is a threat already. Rook c8. Sooner or later, he has to cover the file. Another option was queen f8 instead of this. Another was queen f8 to bring the queen to d6. And now it's bishop takes, knight takes, and knight e6 takes, rook takes, and now c5. If queen c4 with, then he has rook d8. If queen c4. But I can take everything on c5 and take, rook d1, knight c7, rook c6, rook b8, I think, has to play rook b8, d2, rook b5, knight e4. Still very unpleasant position. Probably he's losing the pawn. So that is why he played and if I would not take after queen f8, if I would play h5, you can just bring the queen to d6. That's why you have to do it. He wants to bring, if it would be possible, but he played rook c8 instead of this. He played rook c8. Just a normal move, queen d2. Queen f8 now. Now he played queen f8. Queen f8, but now I just can continue with this move. Rook c1 now. And now with queen d6, then I can take by knight, and he has to take by pawn. Otherwise, knight e4 by pawn, and then I think I can continue with h5. Some ideas like h5. Now he is going to play knight e6, h6, king g8, taking, bishop takes, rook c1, rook c7, take, knight takes, knight e4. Queen e6 and queen f4. And he cannot take by queen on e4. No, queen e7 was better. And queen e7 was better. Queen e7, but anyway. And he has not king f6. King f7 has not. Because of the check. Very unpleasant check, yeah? So he played a rook e7 instead of queen d6. Where is it? This is my place. He played rook e7. Rook e7. Knight takes d5. It's time already. Knight takes d5 and bishop takes d5. Bishop takes d5, pawn takes d5, and queen f4. Thus we have some positional advantage. Queen is not coming to d6, and he cannot cover both files, c or e. One he will give me. C file or E file. He took on E1, rook E1, rook C6. The same, but we have better knight than that bishop. And now H5. No, I did not play H6 here. I queen D6. I played here he played queen E6. No, queen D6, queen E3, and now queen E6. Now. And now, you see, I would have a very nice idea here with knight f5. Very nice. Yes, he cannot take by queen because h6 and king g8, queen e7, and there is mate on g7. And he cannot take by pawn because of queen g3. But he can simply play king f7, and I have nothing except of move repetition. Simply, but it would be nice to knight f5. Because he has no other moves, by the way. You see, because there is king g8 is knight e7. King f8 is not possible, queen h6, so would be winning immediately. But unfortunately, king f7 would be. That is why after queen e6, queen d6, after queen d6, I played immediately queen d2. No. Queen d6, no, queen e3. queen e3. If I take queen e6, I would go to d2, winning a tempo. So he played rook c7. And now we have a typical hand game. So rook c7. If you can win by simple means, don't complicate the game, said Oleg once. So if you can simply play queen e7, and that is enough. Queen e7, take it, king h6, I think, and king h2. And he's just win it. A4 he played. If A4 he played, I don't know what was the reason actually. If he would take here, then check, and knight is coming to e3. Rook b7, for instance. Rook b7, simply take again, king f5, and even I think knight c4 is enough. No, sorry. f3 is much better. First f3. They cannot come with the king. And the endgame is winning, of course. So that is, he played a4. And that's before. He played a4 here, and now I played f4, stopping his knight, his king. b5, rook f7, f5, and I think rook e7 maybe. Forced him to play f5, and now rook e7, and now rook e7 back. Pinned forever. Oh, okay, he can change a rook later if he managed to change it. But anyway. So if he would rook b7, then let's change this one. If he takes by king, if he takes by pawn, then it's probably knight f1 and coming to e3 or d3 here, f3 g5, and without rooks, even, I'm not forced even to take. I can play even this one and attack from this side too. Knight e3 and simply win the position. So he took by king. Oh, back. He took by king. He took by king. Knight e2 to g1, f3 or c3. Both is possible. Bishop c8. Bishop c8 he played. I did not want to change even. He played this, and I moved my knight to c3. And this position was in big time trouble. He just blundered the piece, like bishop a6. He played bishop a6 and blundered the bishop. Yeah. But, Sorry?
Is it possible something like before 80?
Before? Instead of
No, no.
now before? Knight takes d5.
Yeah.
Knight takes d5 immediately.
Yeah.
So, and then rook c8 is another one threat. So it's so that was a game, and now I would like to show you one very strange game. Really strange game.
May I ask you a
Yes.
question? Because this is also a very strange game for me because no, I want just to understand something. Normally, when you have isolated pawn,
Yes.
you don't want to change pieces, right? No, it means that in that position, the structure of black was worse because of 6.
Yeah, both f6 and later c6 or
So
b6.
it means that
Yes.
your structure with black was not worse because of this pawn. So you
Yes.
change pieces
Yes.
for this reason.
Once actually I had a game versus Barrier that I won. It was during the Olympics in 1994 with isolated pawn. And Kasparov approached me and talked to me, oh, Barrier was better, they played one team. Petrosyan, I had an isolated pawn also. He said Petrosyan would be happy with this position and suggested one variation. I came to my room, and because he's talking very fast, you have no time to realize what he's talking about. And I forgot that it was not possible because of tactical mean. He would lose a pawn immediately. So, and then I found him again and told him, you see, it was not possible what you suggested. You are losing. And isolated pawn was true, but the problem was that he had weaknesses on queen side. Pawn, again, if pawn would be a7, b7, would be everything fine. But he had weaknesses, and later we changed a pieces, and he lost endgame because my king is coming. King and knight, I had two knights, I had the knight and bishop, but I had knight and bishop, I don't remember, and the king is coming and beating the pawns because the pawns were a little bit ahead. So and next day, Kasparov, I find it a draw for him. I said, okay, I admit it. Draw may be, but not more. So isolated pawns, yeah, you have to know how to play with isolated pawns.
Yes.
Actually. Now I want to show you, you know that this game is not so known, this game. Most know another one game. So another game was very strange game. I played versus international master Karoli, Tibor Karoli from Hungary. We played in Tbilisi 1996. No, 1986. He was so surprised that he later asked Tal, how is it possible? Why it did work, everything. So, the starting position is what is the starting position?
You can.
Just there. No, it was not C4, it was, okay. Or maybe it was, you were right, it was C4. Can I change the sides?
Yeah.
How?
How do
No, I mean flip the board.
Yeah. How do you do it?
Yeah, I want to flip the board.
Yeah.
At the top. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because it's easier for me. I always look on my side.
Yes.
Then I know the position better. C5, C4, E5. And he played knight f3. Not normally like knight c3 or g3. Not normal. He played knight f3. I was too optimistic again, and I played e4. Okay, if he allows me to play, why not to play e4? e4, knight d4. Knight f6, knight f6, knight c3, bishop c5, he played knight b3, and bishop b4. d4, d4 he played. Maybe here would be better to castle, simply to castle, and if bishop g5, then h6, and maybe I can play e3. And it's possible because it's a little bit, the pieces are displayed. So, or even d4, or even h6, maybe normal move. Queen c2, castle, now h3, bishop, queen, and d5. That's also playable for black. But we can play, of course, bishop f4, e3, so it's just a normal game. Then I can take on c4 and bishop e6 quickly. So, and if he plays e3, his bishop is still close there. But I made a wrong move. Instead of this, I took immediately on c3. That was wrong. And now I played h6. Now I played h6. He can play bishop f1, d6, looks normal, e3, knight c6, and he played c5 here. And now he's, no, what is wrong? Knight c6, c5. So, and now it's a little bit unpleasant here. And I have knight h, not knight h5. And I did not like it already. This way. But still not so much, but knight d5 is just bishop g3. I can take on knight d5, bishop g3, take just queen c2. And it's bad for me. Yeah, that is bad. d5 to play. What it is? c5. To play d5, it's very strong bishop then. I have no counterplay then. He just play bishop e2, castle, and so I castle. cd6, cd6. And took c1. So now I was not happy with my position anymore. Now what to do? What to do now? I have to look for counterplay. Just play next move bishop e2, c4, and what do I do? A5. It looks normal to play a5 until he has not a square. a5. Yeah. Bishop e2. Bishop e6. Some strange idea to play a4. c4, a4, knight d2. Still unpleasant. Still unpleasant. b file. This is weak on a4. The only hope is some tactical ideas like knight b4. But this moment I did not see this idea. Knight b4. Knight b4. Just rook b1. In the move. Cannot take. Knight d3 is the only move. Bishop takes. Pawn takes. So as soon he finishes developing pieces, black position is lost. He played e4. Another option was to play here rook takes b7. Somehow I have maybe this move to bring my bishop to e2. If f3, then I go to c8 and have knight h5 later. At least I have knight h5. I have to admit that this is the poor pawn on b3. But knight h5. And if he plays knight f3, if he plays instead of this knight f3, then I have this check. Queen d2, I think, and queen a6. Maybe it's still possible to play. Maybe. Because later I have d5. So maybe it's still possible. Or another option is also to play here after queen d2, queen f5. I have also some moves like that, and g5 later after castling. You see, after castling, I have g5. It doesn't look very well. This is not possible to take, and anyway, you cannot take on d3. A little bit tricks. That's the only thing what's happened to me, what's left to me. It's only to find some tricks, nothing more. And he played, instead of all that, of course, he doesn't need to take. He doesn't need to take. No, he took. No, and now not. And just played e4. Looks normal. e4, as soon that prevented me from d5. e4 and then he just castles and wins. He will win the pawns. d3, also he has a square eventually from bishop e3, d3, and b7, and such. If you come to such situation, you have to find something. Otherwise, it will be lost. Otherwise, it's lost. So, and I have found here a very, very strange idea. I made almost incredible move. b5. Looks completely strange. That's the game I'm proud. cb5, then I can take on a2 and we will play again. And if you take a pawn, then I can take here, rook b2 or rook a1, doesn't matter, and bishop e3, and the pawn is on e4 hanging. Or bishop e6 is possible too. For instance, you see, even this is possible here. Bishop e6, and after d5 to take by bishop. And we start again. Because bishop e3, queen at 6, and I have a pawn still. So rook a1 thing, or rook a, no, it was, or rook a1 was also the same, more or less. If rook a1 instead of rook b2, where it is? Here. If rook a1, then bishop b3, take, change, and the pawn is hanging on b4. Still not so clear now. Now it's not so clear. But natural move is rook takes b5. It's clear. That rook takes b5 would be normal. Where it is? Oh, it's another game. It's another game. It's up. Rook b1? No, it's a little bit. So. Sorry? Oh, here. b5. Thank you. Rook takes b5. It's normal. It's just decoying the rook to the wrong square. Rook takes b5, and now another one. Now b5. And now rook is hanging on b5.
Queen e8.
Yes, it's right.
He
Queen
takes bishop
e8.
d5.
He took on by e-pawn. Of course, he could somehow he could equalize a game, but that is a game, and bishop takes, and he cannot take by pawn. Strange, but he cannot take by pawn. He played bishop e5. For instance, another would be rook takes d5, and then knight takes, pawn takes, queen takes, castle, queen takes a2. Now the pawn is dangerous. Knight e4, queen c4, queen g4, and rook a6. And I suppose black is better now, because I have two pass pawns.
Yes.
Two pass pawns, and it's not easy to win them back.
Yeah.
Now, it could be happen like that if he would play immediately, if you would castle immediately, rook b5 with d5, d5, bishop d5, and if you would castle here, then bishop takes c4, knight takes c4, queen takes here, I think knight e5 maybe, and that is equal, more or less. That is more or less equal. So, but I would be happy with this. But he wanted to win. It seems that he is winning already. And he played after bishop takes d5. After bishop takes d5, no, bishop takes d5, he played bishop e5. Now another one, bishop c6. Again, because bishop g2 would be losing probably. Because if I play bishop g2, immediately he can play rook g1, bishop g2, rook g1, bishop c6, and now I think rook c5. And now it's rook c5. And with some threats, a lot of threats, or even maybe rook g7. So, but first I played, that's a move order important. I played bishop c6 here. First I played bishop c6. He played rook c5, and now I took g2. And now rook e8. And now it's queen d4 threat. Now it's queen d4 threat. Really strange. Rook g1, rook e8, rook g2, and queen takes d4. And he did not castle. And you see the differences. The rook is hanging. Yes, not knight f3, nothing more. So rook is hanging there. He played king f1 and just change it. Change. Queen takes e5. Rook g5. Rook g3. He played. And just rook d8 now. Now protect this one pawn. And here is out. Really strange game. So now let us pawn up already. Yes. And the pawn is very strong. So sometimes you need to find something to save a game. Yes, I had in 1977 and Soviet Championship a game versus Smith in Petrov defense. He played with black. We played few games already with him, and he outplayed me completely with black. I was completely lost. I cannot move the pieces. So, and one moment, I will show you this game the day tomorrow. And one moment, the game was a joint game. We had the joints at the time, and he had the choice. He could win normally, game, win pawns and that, or he could win a piece. I joined the game, what to do, and then I came to my room, and I find it a very strange idea that when he win a piece, and he is on move, he has queen and bishop, and I have queen, and I have a threat of perpetual check always, and he did not find during the game how to win, and I saved the draw. That was, but I can understand he was very angry with his second. The second was the end of the threat. But you know, you never will analyze the position after you get such your piece up and you don't. Nobody will analyze the game after that. Only who wants to save the game. Yes, like here.
Yeah.
If I would have a good position, I would not find the ideas like b5.
Yeah. Yeah.
And him, of course, not too.
Yeah.
b5 and d5. That was my only chance to do something. And he could make a draw, but no, it's a game. He was surprised, he was upset, and then he asked how it's possible. How it yeah. So, okay, so we finished today.
I have a question from somebody in internet.
Yes.
Check those 451 asks if you anytime lose your concentration during games, and if you do, but if you have any trick, any clue to get it back, to focus again.
No. Yeah, there is one clue: to be younger. Of course, I'm losing concentration. Even the game 2 days ago, the second round, you know, I was surprised by the opening. And later, during the game, I had the idea that I can play knight e4, don't remember which move, it was more or less 20 or something. Instead, I played this completely stupid move, a4. Instead of knight e4, and then I realized he pushes pawn c4, knight c3, bishop c6, and I did not see a next move. But at this moment, I could take on d5.
Yeah.
I could take on d5 because of d4, some ideas. But I have to take by right piece on d5, by bishop. So, and that is why I lost concentration. It's not only this, it happens every time. So, sometimes even here in Sitges, it was few years ago. I don't remember exactly when it was, year 18 or 17 or something. I lost concentration on time. You know, I was better. I saw that I'm winning. Then probably it seems I played something wrong. And then somehow I lost concentration. I forgot about the time.
Yeah.
So it's happened. You forget about the time, and recently somewhere else I forgot about the time. So.
And then you lost all time?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I lost.
Because you didn't realize.
Yeah, I forgot about this. You know, that's one moment it was more or less okay with the time, and suddenly it's over. So. Sorry?
It happened with me too.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm not the only one. Like this. Some tournaments before I was the same on time. Simply forgotten about the clock. because I had 1-2 minutes, and then it was versus Grandmaster Juba in Poland. I could make different ways to, because first I was worse, then probably worse. Then he misplayed something, and I had few moments, few possibilities how to make a draw. And I had to choose which to make, and when I made a move, probably the same. And before, just a moment before, I had 2 minutes. Just a moment before.
Yeah. Crazy.
So just lost concentration.
You're not a computer.
Yes, I'm
You're not a computer. You're a human being.
Okay, thank you very
Thank
much.
you very
Mr.
much.
Lee. I hope to see you in 2 days. I mean, the day after tomorrow.
Did you come also here?
Yes,
Here?
the day after tomorrow
Day
I
after
have
tomorrow.
a conference
Oh, very good.
the same time.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye.